So I have mixed emotions about being back 18 years after I left. On one account, on one hand, I look at the community um, and I think to myself, wow, this is what I grew up in. In the areas that I grew up in, there wasn't a lot. The conditions of the home, the conditions of the community, the upkeep, just kind of has a certain feel to it. And I'm proud of one that I was able to take myself out of this situation that at that time I didn't feel was good enough, was good for me, and that I've been able to create a life for myself and be able to achieve success. I'd like to think now, after achieving success, that there's little gems in every trailer park. Every trailer park in America, every housing project, there's little gems. There's little diamonds that can be found. Because when I lived here, who would have thought that I would have become what I've become? And I'm not done yet, but so far. So I look at some of these kids in these communities and I'm like, hey man, you're not done yet. Whole world out there waiting for you. Go see it. I would have the window, because the bed was right by the window, and it would sleep with the window slightly open, and it was just a cool breeze. And every morning, almost like clockwork, like around 6 o'clock, it felt like, I think is what it was, the train would come by the tracks, and so you hear the, and that was kind of my alarm, and it would wake me up. And you know, of course, at that time you're like, God, that train, like, it's so annoying. But now I think about that and I'm like, man, those are such beautiful memories. That was the first home we lived in. Really got to hope. It's really fascinating though when I think about it now. You know, in the 9 years that I lived here, I lived in 6 homes that I can remember. 6 homes. So if you really think about that, that's like a year and a half, maybe at each place, give or take. That's not a lot. And a child needs stability. A child needs to have a home, right? And yeah, I'm sure that affected me to some degree back then, and of course now. But what I think about it more, and what I take away from that, is that prepared me for the life that I live, where there were opportunities that presented themselves that were not in my community, but I would have to relocate. And it wasn't a big deal for me. I was like, all right, I gotta go. I was fearless enough to just go, because why? This childhood prepared me for that. It prepared me to just go. I didn't have any ties to something. Now, I've always, you know, you look at that and say that's a bad thing too, because, you know, you're never necessarily grounded in one particular place, but that's what I was working towards. And now as an adult, to have my home with my wife, with our daughter, with our dog, that's our home now. That's going to be our home for a while. But to get there, I had to come through here. All of here. All 6 homes. Makes you appreciate it now. Thank you, Hope. Apartment number 11. Actually, in this house, in this apartment right here, before I had one of the scariest moments of my life. It was, the power had gone out. It was one winter where the power went out. And it was so cold. It was incredibly cold. And what we did is, not knowing any better, we we brought in the grill from outside and just had a little like the fire wasn't going, it was just like the coils were burning, and just to kind of create warmth in the house. And of course, not realizing at the time, my mom was inhaling all of that, and my mom started choking, my mom started throwing up, and I panicked, and I remember calling 911. And again, it was a storm, it was snow, it had been a little bit of ice. The ambulance showed up, and they put her on the, they loaded her onto the ambulance, and I was terrified. And I was just like, oh my God, my mom's gonna die, my mom's gonna die. And her boyfriend at the time got in the car, and we're driving behind the ambulance, and I'm in the passenger seat, he's driving, and I'm just like screaming like, no, my mom's gonna die, you know. And that's all I had. That's all I had. I mean, luckily she came out okay, she was fine, but it was scary. It was scary. We didn't know any better. Like, the eyes are different. The eyes have seen, the eyes have matured. What I saw back then was norm. I knew that I lacked certain things in comparison to those around me, but for the most part, that was norm. That was life. There was nothing abnormal about it. And now coming back as an adult, as a father, as a husband, as someone who has seen, someone who has lived, we really didn't have a lot. We really didn't. And I think it startles me, and and I think it is mind-blowing to me, one, to really see what this community is and it has become, but also two, that I made it. I made it out of it. I made it out of it. And I know that there's a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends, a lot of them that didn't make it, and I'm sure there's a lot of kids here that feel like they're not going to make it. That's tough. Yeah, my room was, the back windows that was my mother's room, and the windows, the second window, that was my room. My uncle came and lived with us for a little bit, and he used to like to drink beer a lot, and we'd play cards. And he'd drink so much that he'd get drunk, and then he'd say, let's play for money. And he would help, he would put, I don't know, $1 down for me. And so just he and I. And so he'd get so, what I would start doing, I would say, you want another beer? Like, you want more beer? You want another beer? And I would always get him a beer. Even though he had like kind of a full one or close to it, he was like, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, here's a beer. And my whole approach was, I get him to drink more, and then I could win. And I would win a lot. I would actually sometimes walk away with $15, $20, because we played for a while. Made the whole house. And I used to, my room was upstairs. But I also remember, like, here is, you know, my mom, it wasn't a good relationship. A lot of infidelity on his part. Oh man, like, I wonder if in the backyard we had the satellite. And that was the satellite TV. And it was a huge dish, like, huge. Like those old school ones. I wonder. No, it's not there. And I used to actually have to come outside and move the dish around. This huge dish, like satellite. I used to move it around in order for us to get the good signal. Yeah. That was home for a second. Moved around a lot. You know, that's the thing is like even though I lived in this town for almost 9 years, I didn't live in just one or two homes. Like I moved around enough. I moved around. Yeah, that's why now as an adult to have my home and to have things on the wall and know that at least for the foreseeable future, that is my home. Like that's it. That's the home. I didn't have that growing up. And you know, I didn't feel anything about it. At least I didn't think I did, because in that moment in time, I didn't. I was just going for the ride. And it definitely was affecting me. I later learned. Wow, it's really like boarded up. To come back to this building and to see it essentially the way it is. I don't know, it's sad, but it also makes me really think about how far I've come and what my mother was doing the best that she could, and she provided, and it was great. But I survived this. I lived in this building at least 2 years, maybe 3. Definitely 7th and 8th grade, but I think possibly even 6th grade. I used to walk to school. School's actually, the middle school's down the block on the right, and I used to walk to school. And I remember like sometimes walking to and from school, actually getting jumped one time by a group of grown men because I wasn't giving them attention. That's what they said. Because I wasn't responding to them trying to talk to me, and I was just, because I knew they were not involved in good things, and so I just kind of like kept my head down and just kind of kept them moving. They didn't like that. But look at this. Look at the building now. Look at how this building has been abandoned for I don't know how long. I mean, the windows are busted out. The meter is falling off of the wall. Like, there definitely has been no upkeep here at all. This was the period of my life where I felt a little isolated and confused and still trying to find myself in this community, in this world. Yeah, it wasn't easy.